think I relate to any of my characters. I've played a crack addict from Boston. I've played an Upper East Side princess.
Blake Lively, once celebrated as Hollywood's golden girl and a close friend within Taylor Swift's inner circle, now finds herself at the epicenter of one of the most shocking celebrity scandals in recent memory after an unearthed email surfaced, allegedly written by a member of Taylor Swift's publicity team, that not only questions Blake's loyalty but also exposes years of hidden tensions, manipulations, and power games that had long been whispered about but never confirmed, as the email now, circulating within industry insiders, paints a damning picture of how Blake carefully constructed an image of effortless charm and loyalty to Taylor while simultaneously exploiting that very friendship for her own career elevation, film opportunities, and public spotlight, with the Publicist claiming that Blake often positioned herself as Taylor's protective sister, only to leverage that role in securing invitations, red carpet visibility, and brand collaborations that she otherwise may not have attained, while Taylor, deeply trusting and eager to believe in her friendships, allegedly overlooked multiple warning signs, including instances where Blake privately aligned herself with rivals, leaked minor but sensitive details to tabloids under the guise of off-the-record context, and carefully orchestrated moments where she appeared indispensable to Taylor's public image, particularly during the 2016 Kanye West feud when Blake was one of the few celebrities to subtly support Taylor publicly. Yet the email suggests that this support was calculated rather than heartfelt, pointing to communications between Blake and industry executives at the time where she allegedly discussed how standing by Taylor in this feud guarantees long-term public goodwill, a revelation that, if true, could shatter the widely accepted narrative of genuine friendship that the public has been fed for nearly a decade. And the timing of this email leak couldn't be worse for Blake, as she is already embroiled in ongoing tensions with director Justin Baldoni, and facing scrutiny over legal interpretations of a recent case where her team claimed victory despite Brian Friedman, the opposing attorney, publicly dismantling her narrative and accusing her of manipulating court language to deceive fans, all of which now ties into a broader picture of Blake as someone who expertly plays the media game while privately leaving a trail of fractured trust and professional bitterness, with the Publicist writing in the unearthed email that Taylor never wanted this to go public, but deserves to know who she is dealing with, further adding that Blake knows exactly how to play innocent in front of cameras while planting seeds of discord behind closed doors. A sentiment that echoes previous whispers from those close to the situation who have hinted that Blake's marriage with Ryan Reynolds also thrives on this very brand of performative banter and public relatability that hides much darker ambitions. And now Hollywood is buzzing with speculation over what else could come out if more emails or messages are released, with some insiders suggesting that Blake's carefully guarded reputation as both a doting mother and a beloved actress may not survive the avalanche of revelations if the story continues to unfold, especially given the fact that Taylor's current relationship with Travis Kelce has already placed her under intense media scrutiny, making her more cautious about who she allows into her inner circle. And the unearthed email even goes as far as to imply that Taylor had been advised multiple times by her PR team to create distance from Blake, but resisted out of loyalty, which in hindsight may have allowed Blake to entrench herself further, benefiting from association with the most powerful woman in music, while slowly diminishing that very woman's private confidence and peace of mind. With the Publicist's concluding line in the email reading chillingly, "Taylor deserves better than a friend who only sees her as a brand asset," a statement that has since been interpreted by fans as the clearest indicator yet that Blake's actions may have been more calculated than anyone wanted to believe. And as the online discourse erupts with hashtags calling for accountability, some defending Blake as misunderstood while others labeling her as manipulative, the story underscores the fragile nature of celebrity friendships in an industry where power, influence, and image often outweigh sincerity. And what happens next could define not only Blake Lively's career trajectory, but also the way Taylor Swift navigates her most high-profile friendships going forward, especially if more insiders decide to step forward or if Taylor herself feels compelled to address the matter directly. Though given her history, Taylor may choose silence and let the truth speak for itself as Blake faces what may well be the most damaging public reckoning of her career. After the initial shockwave of the unearthed email implicating Blake Lively in a carefully orchestrated pattern of opportunism at the expense of Taylor Swift's trust, Hollywood found itself unable to look away from the unfolding spectacle. Because what began as a leaked communication from Taylor's publicity team soon spiraled into a narrative that was no longer just about a private betrayal, but about the very mechanics of how influence, loyalty, and manipulation play out in an industry built on illusion. And as insiders began to dissect line by line what the Publicist had written, about Blake positioning herself strategically within Taylor's orbit, about the ways in which small acts of support were allegedly calculated rather than sincere, about the subtler forms of betrayal like leaking context to media under, off-the-record pretexts, a much bigger picture started emerging. One that stretched beyond just two friends into the entire apparatus of Hollywood PR warfare, where images, currency, and trust is the most fragile commodity. And in that picture, Ryan Reynolds appeared as a crucial figure, not just as Blake's husband, but as a partner in crafting and sustaining a public brand that thrived on appearing wholesome, humorous, and charming while allegedly masking a behind-the-scenes obsession with status climbing. With emails and whispers suggesting that Ryan not only knew about Blake's tactics but actively encouraged them, seeing in Taylor Swift's global superstardom an unparalleled PR lifeline that could extend Blake's visibility far beyond her acting roles, especially during years when her career was struggling to produce box office dominance, and as more industry veterans chimed in, pointing out moments at red carpet events, joint brand campaigns, and interviews where Blake seemed to deftly pivot conversations toward her own ventures while under the guise of supporting Taylor. The narrative deepened, connecting even to the recent Justin Baldoni legal battle, because critics started noticing a pattern in Blake's approach to conflicts: publicly portray herself as the graceful victor while privately relying on spin doctors to massage the narrative, a pattern that Brian Friedman, Baldoni's attorney, had already called out when he accused Blake's camp of declaring false victory after the ruling, saying that her team deliberately misrepresented court outcomes to create a misleading public perception of strength. And when you line up the Friedman comments against the Publicist's unearthed email, the parallels are undeniable, both pointing to a woman who has mastered the art of weaponizing public sympathy and media headlines while dismissing the deeper truths that contradict her curated image, and for Taylor Swift, already wary after years of betrayals ranging from Kanye and Kim's famous scandal to Scooter Braun's acquisition of her masters. This revelation landed as yet another seismic betrayal that forced her to re-evaluate the very foundation of friendship and loyalty in her world, because for Taylor, who has always been deliberate in constructing her squad and presenting friendship as part of her brand identity, the realization that one of the most prominent members of that inner circle may have been playing a double game was nothing short of devastating. And though Taylor herself has not publicly addressed the email, sources close to her suggest she is shaken but not surprised, which implies she may have long harbored doubts, but clung to loyalty out of hope. And now that the public knows, the implications extend beyond private heartbreak. Brands, studios, and fans are all watching to see how Taylor recalibrates her friendships, with some Swifties already launching hashtags like #BlakeTheSnake and #JusticeForTaylor that echo the fandom's long tradition of defending their idol with fervor, while others caution against a rush to judgment, suggesting that the email could be exaggerated or taken out of context. Yet what complicates matters is that more receipts are rumored to exist, with insiders hinting at text messages and additional emails where Blake allegedly mocked Taylor's emotional vulnerability and used insider information to curry favor with executives who weren't always on Taylor's side. And if those receipts emerge, the damage could be irreparable, not just to Blake's friendship with Taylor, but to her entire carefully built reputation as Hollywood's golden sweetheart. Because as history has shown, once Swifties turn against a celebrity, the online backlash can be relentless and career-defining, and this potential backlash couldn't come at a worse time for Blake, who is already facing scrutiny in the Justin Baldoni lawsuit saga, where critics are questioning her credibility, and Brian Friedman's viral commentary continues to trend, painting Blake as someone who plays fast and loose with the truth, which now dovetails seamlessly with the Publicist's email allegations, creating a dangerous narrative synergy where Blake is framed as not just a manipulator in friendships, but also in the courtroom. And Ryan Reynolds' role in all this cannot be understated, because while he has remained publicly silent, his own PR strategy, built on witty social media posts and a relatable husband-father persona, may not be enough to shield him if the tide turns against Blake. As critics are already revisiting past interviews where Ryan and Blake playfully mock celebrities who take themselves too seriously, suggesting hypocrisy, given that their own behind-the-scenes behavior seems driven by a ruthless seriousness about status and control, and fans are beginning to ask whether Ryan, too, has benefited from the Swift connection, since Taylor's friendship with Blake has often put Ryan in the same rooms as the most powerful figures in music, boosting his own cultural capital just as much as Blake's, meaning the fallout from this email could ripple across both their careers. But perhaps the most poignant layer of the scandal is what it reveals about the fragility of trust in an industry that thrives on surface-level connections. Because if Taylor Swift, arguably the most scrutinized, strategic, and emotionally intelligent celebrity of her generation, can be blindsided by a friend's duplicity, what does that say about the chances of authenticity surviving in Hollywood at all? And this is why the unearthed email has become more than gossip, it has become a case study in how PR gamesmanship erodes personal bonds, how the chase for power corrodes authenticity, and how even the strongest public images can unravel when receipts emerge. And now with speculation that Taylor's publicist may have more files waiting to be revealed, Hollywood is bracing for a storm that could redefine not just Blake Lively's legacy, but the entire discourse around celebrity friendships. Because the story has all the ingredients of a Hollywood reckoning: betrayal, manipulation, public image, legal battles, fandom wars, and the looming